It's the first match of Week 7 here, Season 2 of Hearthstone Grandmasters for Americas. Today is October 4th, 2019, TJ. I heard that you only dropped one historical fact,
but it was good enough for all 3 days.
I am disappointed. But nevertheless, TJ, I want to drop today's fact. In 1957, on this day in history, Sputnik 1 was launched into the orbit, the first man-made satellite, and it took about 96 minutes for it to orbit the Earth, and at a height of 584 miles. So about the length of one warrior mirror. And,
well,
of
some
course,
warrior mirrors,
started
yes.
Many would consider to be the space race and, of course, advanced technology, and culminated into some of recent events like SpaceX launch with Elon Musk and crew. Really cool stuff. Only the second most interesting race in mankind history, of course, preceded by the race for playoffs here in Hearthstone Grandmasters. You like that?
Best part of this day in history facts is how every single one, no matter how obscure it is, you find a way to tie it in to Hearthstone. Somehow.
It's intense.
Yeah.
The Soviets and the Americans and their space race.
NA versus EU.
That's right. NA versus EU, or in this case, it's North versus South America. Amnesiac versus PNC. We got Priest Protects, we got a Warrior ban, and a Druid ban. But there's a little bit more than meets the eye. If you take a look at some of the lineups this week, we've got some interesting stuff. We highlighted the Reno Paladin, the Highlander Paladin, TJ. But we also have things like Highlander Warrior.
Yep.
We do have the Highlander Hunter, but they've even had some other retooling, like not even playing Zul'jin.
No Zul'jin, no secrets, more mechs, more like early board with an Octosari at the top end. Very interesting stuff.
That's right. Malygos Druid was banned away from PNC, a deck that he's been bringing the past couple of weeks. Amnesiac going to start things off with his own Druid. Interesting that he's going with Druid despite the fact that Priest was protected on both sides. A little unusual, don't you think?
Yeah, it is quite unusual because if you're the player that's trying to break the mold of protect Priest, Q Priest, you want to do it with something that has a decent matchup against Priest. And Druid has one of the worst. And even beyond that, Amnesiac doesn't necessarily have like additional tools in his Druid, like the Pounce tech, for instance. That he could use to maybe try and sneak a win with Druid. So it is quite interesting that he decided to go against the mold, but go against it with something that doesn't even have a counter to the standard.
At least on paper.
Yeah, at least on paper. I mean, he could always... Yeah, Druid can sometimes get to the early game against Priest, but why risk it?
It's for the biscuit, TJ.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big biscuit. Trying to sneak a Druid win against a lineup that may get through, may not get through against the rest of PNC's lineup, but I don't know if I agree with it.
Well, we have some interesting stuff. We did mention that we have a lot of variation in terms of the individual decks, but TJ, today we have 10 players and 10 lineups. Only one lineup repeats, and that's Amnesiac's lineup, as well as ETC's lineup. ETC took a very safe approach. Many people consider it to be Combo Priest, or whatever you want to call it, Inner Fire Priest, Control Warrior, and then Quest Druid, Quest Shaman. This is what many consider to be a core 4 lineup. It's very popular, the most popular lineup in Europe by a mile. Yet in Americas, we have Reno Hunter, Highlander Warrior, OTK Paladin, Highlander Paladin, Reno Mage, all featured today, and even the variants thereof. For example, Strife Crow and Muzzy both bought Reno Hunter, but one is an aggressive mech hunter without any Zul'jin or Unleashed a Beast, and then one is more beast-centric like we normally see with that Unleashed a Beast and Zul'jin and Strife Crow. So there's a lot of variation in patterns, and I gotta say, I'm proud of the Americas region, TJ. Because for several weeks, it felt like they were just simply copy-pasting lineups.
Yeah.
This week, it felt like they really went all out. And because of the recent announcement of the Tombs of Doom and all these other cool events that are happening with wildcards coming back, why not bring out the big guns? Because the meta is going to change very soon heading into Bucharest.
Yeah, and heading into playoffs as well. So things are going to get quite interesting. And there's two directions that you can take when you go into the last week like this, where every player is trying to gain some sort of edge. You can play it safe, and we see like the players that are fighting relegation play it safe, like ETC, PNC, kind of bringing the same stuff. But then there's the players that are kind of on that bubble where their playoff spot is almost secured, and then it's about seeding. And those players have tended to, like Muzzy, Saiyan, Frozen, have tended to try and go for something a little out of left field to try and gain an edge in that way. So a very interesting week when it all comes down to it. But finally, time to get into game one.
Do we get confirmation that it's going to be live for playoffs, the new patch?
I don't know. It's possible.
Okay. Because, if this is the last week heading into it, then you know what? By all means, go all out, right? Like, throw out all the cool tech lineups that you've been seeing, whether it's the aggressive Highlander Warrior that's been dominating ladder or perhaps Frozen's pet deck. Let's go into game number one. Looks like we're finally ready. Quest Druid going up against Combo Priest. A crucial match here for PNC to entirely avoid relegations. And Amnesiac with the 6-6 puts himself also within playoff contention. A win here puts him back in that race. I think he's just on the outskirts, or at least tied for that 4th place spot. Picks up Untapped Potential and Innervate, a really iconic combo.
Job done.
And what's important is that you have that quest finished early, so that way you can use Starfall to its maximum potential, which Amnesiac might need. That early game hand from PNC looks really, really powerful.
Yes, it does. And I do believe we did get confirmation.
Oh my goodness.
The announcement says 10 a.m. on October 8th.
Wow, that's just a few short days.
Yeah, so.
Next Tuesday, I believe?
That is
correct?
Tuesday, yes.
Wow. So for playoffs, entirely different meta. The players have like 48 hours to submit new decks. Going to be very interesting. You heard it here probably first, but if not, you heard it here second.
Or third or fourth, depending on how many Reddit threads you read on average each day.
So now Amnesiac's introduced with a situation where he can utilize his Innervate here to continue the progression of his quest if he wants to draw a card with Ferocious Howl. What is he trying to dig through his deck to utilize this Ferocious Howl with? I think that's a question that a lot of people ask themselves. By keeping the Innervate, he gives the option of being able to utilize it the following turn, or even when his quest has finished, and use it where, say, an Innervate Nourish, and then use the Nourish crystal to get Wrath.
Yeah.
Either way, this is looking real bad.
All that's assuming he lives until that point, and PNC has Beaming Sidekick, Innerfire, and Divine Spirit, which means that place onto a Met, he's taking 21 damage next turn. He is quickly running out of time, and honestly, with this injured Tolvir in the way, he won't even have the ability to War Druid Lodi to try and stop it, even if he were to pick that up. So, not looking good for Amnesiac right now. At least the Enlightened completely dead draw, and even though the quest is complete, I don't think Amnesiac's going to live to see many more turns.
Yeah, PNC going to look through his hand and try to justify any other play besides going in on the Druid, and I'm hard-pressed to find it.
The only thing he needs to keep in mind is Amnesiac does run a copy of Mind Control tech, so he could hedge against that and just go for a 14-14 Ahmet with Divine Spirit plus Innerfire and not throw the Beaming Sidekick in. There's also the potential that he could go for everything kind of plays into Mind Control tech, and I don't think he wants to kind of risk that. So I honestly just hit him for 17.
Seems good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just go for a 14-14 on Yamet, what can Amnesiac do in that position? There's not much. If he chooses to go wide onto the board, he's playing into Starfall. That's exactly what Amnesiac wants. Divine Spirit, Innerfire.
Yep, and even if Amnesiac... Oh! Decision paying off for PNC to not overextend.
Yep. Now, Amnesiac does have ways to stall, right? He can play his Innervate Hidden Oasis, something that he was considering keeping in the back pocket. Oasis does challenge most things on the board, but most isn't enough, unfortunately. And the Met trading over means that it becomes a 14-8, still putting it out of the range of Starfall.
Yeah, I honestly think Amnesiac's hope here is that PNC has to extend into Mind Control Tech, and he has to have a big steal in order to win this game. He's got, you know, a turn, maybe 2 for PNC to try and play into that, but that's pretty much it. And PNC can even continue to kind of draw cards here with, he could overextend with double Northshire Glare. By going wide on the board, he also kind of reduces the impact that Mind Control Tech has, because it's less chance that he steals the taunt or a Met, which is like his way to get back into this game. So
yeah. Even a Met, though. Actually, there is one possible way, I think, which is Mind Control Tech stealing the Met, and then if Amnesiac has another way to play a minion, does like War Druid Lodi change anything?
It could. I mean, if he picks up War Druid Lodi off the top, Mind Control Tech steals the injured Tolvir, and then can trade over the Amet, or vice versa.
Yeah, it might be better to steal the Amet in that spot.
But this is smart for PNC to kind of load up the board to reduce the impact of Mind Control Tech and, you know, increase the odds of being able to counter pressure even if Mind Control Tech steals something large. And pretty much everything is large.
Yes, although Amnesiac does take the Amet.
Behold.
All right.
PNC will be drawing a couple cards.
And that's a 110 Crystal Merchant because of the Amet steal.
And PNC does have a way to draw cards. Right now, he can draw 2 of them. Another Circle of Healing would be massive in this position.
Yep.
But Amet being a 14-10 is very threatening. That one copy of Mind Control Tech being a huge MVP in this spot.
I must consider.
And PNC, I mean, he did do the right thing in terms of extending really wide because it was unlikely that it would get stolen. But, I mean, did he also have to go extend that far? I mean, that is something that you can debate back and forth. Psycho Pump. Topsy-turvy for the lethal? Is that enough? 16, 20, 23, 24. Just enough. Wow, back and forth we go. PNC just able to get over the hump. And without that, we don't know, because Amnesiac had Worthy Expedition, which gives him a chance to stick a really big threat and swing that game back and forth.
Yeah, I really just like the last turn from PNC. He could have gotten greedy and tried to like use the hero power to draw cards, but realized that loading up the board, minimizing the impact of Mind Control Tech, and also making his board as strong as possible if Mind Control Tech stole something big. He probably wins anyway from that point, even if he has like 1 less minion on board. Like, let's say he doesn't have the Beaming Sidekick on board, for instance. Yeah, he's 1 damage off lethal, but Amnesiac would have needed like 2 turns of setup. He would have needed like Lodi into something or Starfall into something in order to get there.
But he had Worthy Expedition. Worthy Expedition can get a taunt minion, and then all of a sudden it like puts a huge taunt minion in the way. He can clean up some of the board.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even just buff his existing Amet and force everything to attack into it because he has Mark of
Nature.
Mark of Nature.
Yeah.
These are, you know, it's a lot of things it's a possibility, and I was kind of excited to see if Amnesia can turn around. But it looks like game number 1 went the Priest direction as we expected, despite the fact that Amnesiac got that 1 and 6. So we're going to take a break for our first match here. When we come back, we're going to resume PNC versus Amnesiac. Stay tuned.
Welcome to this edition of Around the Fern with TJ and Just Saying.
Happy to be here.
Glad to hear it. So I've talked to this about you before, I've never heard you exclaim. So we have an hour in this room, and my goal is going to be to get you to exclaim.
That's just not going to happen.
It is going to happen. Imagine you're walking down the street. You just got lunch. It's a delicious burrito. You're hungry. You haven't eaten in 2 days. Then some guy walks up on the street, punches you in the face, and steals your burrito. You're out of money. You don't have cash. You didn't drive there. You walked there an hour. And now this guy comes up and punches you and steals your burrito. How do you react?
I don't even like burritos. I thank the guy and say, whatever. I was waiting for
What's your
Uber Eats
favorite
anyway.
food?
I mean, it has to be something with rice, but like, I kind of like risotto. The Italian style is very nice.
Italian style risotto. Now imagine you're walking down the street, you get your Italian risotto, and then a guy comes up to you, punches you in the face, and steals your risotto. What do you do?
Actually, I just...
Do you yell? Do you
I
scream?
get confused. I'm mad.
You're mad, so you
But-
want to yell.
But then I think this guy probably needs it more than me. I don't think it's physically
Let's say you're in a
possible for me.
giant field and you're strapped to a chair. The only person that can save you is 1,000 yards away. If you don't yell to them to communicate to them, you're going to sit in that chair forever because that's the only other person on earth. Do you yell to them to save your life?
I mean, if he's the only other person on Earth, do I like this guy? Are we friends even?
He's blind.
I just admit that this is the end. Last person on Earth. I don't know about, like, is his personality nice? Like, is he fun to hang out with? Or
Can we play a game?
yeah, we can play
I'm
games.
going to say a word, and you have to say it slightly louder. Risotto. 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 Risotto.
Risotto.
Number one in the books, Amnesiac queuing the Druid versus the Paladin. Now, upon further analysis, I was going to say analyzation, I think that kind of means the same thing when we're talking. Because we just make up words here on Hearthstone Grandmasters. Upon further analysis, Amnesiac queuing the Druid makes more sense when you look at the bans. It was one thing that we were very briefly glancing over. With Warrior banned away from Amnesiac, it makes sense that PNC feels a lot more comfortable playing the Priest, but with Amnesiac banning the Druid away, means that his Priest would be vulnerable to a Warrior queue. So, because of that dynamic of Priest versus Priest versus Priest versus Warrior, there's a little bit of the mind games over there. Amnesiac decided to queue the Druid just in case PNC decided to go one leg up, and sometimes when you do that, you beat yourself. It's simple rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, and it's kind of PNC queuing Priest is actually pretty expected because he's almost guaranteed to win against Priest. If he queues it first, the absolute worst matchup he can go into is a Priest mirror, and then he's almost guaranteed to get a win with it eventually. So Amnesiac trying to find the edge there, but it was very low percentage chance that PNC was going to fall into a trap. But now Amnesiac gets to roll into Holy Wrath Paladin, and This matchup is interesting. Amnesiac does have access to double Ferocious Howl plus the double Hidden Oasis, which can make this matchup more interesting than it otherwise would be, because you do have the ability to armor out of range of the double combo with the heal from Hidden Oasis. So it does force PNC to have like a little bit of extra damage, which could buy you 1 turn, which then could get you to the point where you're putting on enough pressure to win the game in that little middle ground where they're trying to piece together the extra damage outside of the double combo.
Yep. Just gotta stop that extra damage from coming in through. We've seen Zephyrs come into handy a lot in that position. And I think the name of the game is pressure. Now, speaking of pressure, Amnesiac does have a couple of options here. He does have Power of the Wild as an option to develop minions and try to contest the Paladin. Because one of the things about Holy Wrath Paladin is that it does have all of the tools if you give it time. If you don't give it time, then it feels like it has to time out early, which is something that it doesn't ever really feel comfortable doing. And if you do have to time out early in the matchup, usually that means it's tougher for the Paladin. I know there's a lot of people that say that if you like play things optimally, it might be slightly favored, but I think almost every Holy Wrath Paladin would agree across the board. If given the choice of whether or not they do or don't want to time out early in matchups, they prefer not to. It usually means it's a tougher matchup. The earlier they have to do it.
Yeah. There's some exceptions like Priest, where it's usually better to force the Priest to go on the board early and time out earlier in the game to buy time to draw removal, but especially with how this matchup works, where you almost always need 2 combos and sometimes even a little bit extra beyond that, you do need the timeouts to buy yourself those extra turns at the end of the game.
So Tending Tauren is very fascinating because he already has Oasis Surger. Oasis Surger is, of course, an insane amount of tempo and stats. It's just something to consider because he has Oasis Surger into the Tending Tauren and then can nourish into the Scenaris on the following turn. That being said, Oasis Surger is just so hard to deal with across the board, and you're still threatening a lot. Now, Amnesiac, thinking about what he wants to do with his 2 remaining mana, Power of the Wild again, something that he can challenge a little bit. Turn 5 isn't traditionally a powerful turn for the Paladin. They usually have, you know, Shrink Ray and other kinds of tools like that.
Yeah.
It's usually the even mana costs in which the Paladin gets to do a lot of big stuff. It's the Novice Engineers, the Prismatic Lens, etc.
In some matchups, a Holy Wrath to a minion or face. In matchups where you don't need the double Holy Wrath, that's an option. Having a turn where you can get it out of the way in some matchups for just a card draw, beneficial. But yeah, does find Crystology though, and has Prismatic Lens.
Yes, very big pickups.
The order also matters because if you Prismatic Lens before Crystology, you are more likely to hit a lower cost minion, which means that you can get a very impactful spell to lower cost, like a discounted Holy Wrath.
Yes. However, there is also a possibility that when you Prismatic Lens, that Holy Wrath switches spots with Shirvala, and
which is more beneficial to play the Prismatic Lens first for that reason as well.
Because you have more minions to hit with Prismatic Lens.
Yeah. So if he doesn't Prismatic Lens first, it must mean that his plan is to not play Prismatic Lens at all this turn.
Well, yeah, because also I think he go to 10 cards. He's at 9 right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And
There's
so he would have
there
filled up his hand.
Yeah.
Would have been problematic to say the least.
Yeah. Just kind of an awkward turn altogether.
PNC just shaking his head, really unhappy. And it is something that actually I see a lot from PNC. He's just a head shaker.
There's 2 types of Grandmasters, Dan.
He's just disagreeing with himself.
There's those that shake their heads and those that get their heads shaken.
2-mana Consecration, which makes it efficient clear. The Baleful Banker being expensive doesn't matter entirely too much, assuming Holy Wrath doesn't get discounted that much either.
Yeah, it does make it so you can't like time out in the same turn that you would go for a combo, which can make things awkward. But usually you're hoping that the second combo kills them In which case, if you need to, you can use that first Baleful Banker and timeout, and then use the second Baleful Banker with Shirvala as the kill turn.
Yeah, the redundancy here from the Consecrations makes me want to throw it out, especially because spells are important to play for Shirvala's discount. This already tells Amnesiac a handful of things, which is that PNC is dumping his cards and feels very comfortable parting ways with the Consecration.
Yep.
And Amnesiac has the power of the wild follow-up to this. And the first, Hidden Oasis. Oh, wow, double Innervate. Nope, not enough to do anything with that. What double Innervate allows Amnesiac to do is actually something really annoying for the Holy Wrath Paladin, which is Hidden Oasis. Or sorry, you can Ferocious Howl, Innervate, or Ferocious Howl, Ferocious Howl, Innervate, Hidden Oasis.
Hidden Oasis.
That happened to me one time on ladder, and I said, wow, I lose. I
Yeah.
can't beat that. I was trying to get the right sequencing up, because obviously if you Ferocious Howl last, that's not really what you want.
Yeah, and you need as much armor value as you can, because even if you get like 2 9 armor Ferocious Howls, that's 18, plus Hidden Oasis is 30.
Yeah, there's just no way you're getting through that.
Yeah, you can, but there's no way you're getting through that and then surviving whatever the Druid does beyond that.
Yeah, because they still have Feoris, they still have Cenarius and
Yep.
Floop and just all this stuff. I mean, even right now, PNC is in danger of dying.
Yep.
So PNC, without his AoE clears, he doesn't have Equality, doesn't have Shrink Ray. He does have Pyromancer Consecration.
Yeah, he could also Consecration, Flash of Light, Consecration, Trade, and Elven Archer.
Ooh, I like that too.
That holds onto the Wild Pyromancer in case he needs it for the following turn, and it only leaves 4 power on board, which you negated with the Flash of Light anyway. So it also gets you, a card deeper into your deck. Pyromancer plus any number of things could help get you out of a situation the next turn. But now both Consecrations gone. I can imagine we'll see Feoris here, but he could also go for Cenarius and hold on to his Innervates for power plays later in the game, like you'd mentioned.
Feoris here puts out a 2 5-mana minions, a 6-mana minion, and a Wisp.
2 Wisps. Oh, no, he would use 1 Innervate. Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't seem entirely too the scenario stat line is about the same, actually. Just a little bit more spread out.
And you also get to push a little bit more immediate damage because you're
Right.
buffing the Panther on the board. Maybe PNC was trying to set up for a Wild Pyromancer, and he knows that. He puts 1 more minion outside of range.
Yeah.
I do like this play better.
That's where the timeouts might have to start coming out here for PNC, which he doesn't feel comfortable doing. The earlier, again, you have to use timeout the worst position you get to be, but he doesn't have that guarantee. Now, of course, most people who are very facetiously saying PNC has lethal with the Holy Wrath right now because Shirvala might be one of those 12 cards. They actually might have a point somewhere down the line if PNC is being threatened and he just has to hope that one out of the whatever remaining cards is Shirvala.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I mean, there's a chance he can go for it now if he thinks that he's never going to have time to go for double Holy Wrath plus extra damage to out-heal.
Yeah, I mean, he did have that choice, right? He got Holy Wrath #1 and timeout.
Yeah,
But
now he doesn't have it
Quickly.
anymore. Yeah, because if he Holy Wraths and he whiffs, then he just loses the game on the spot. Because there's just lethal damage showing on board. So I don't think you're going to take a 1-11 to win the game on the spot. I think you can time out, buy some time. Zephyrus is active. It was active at the beginning of the turn with 12 cards remaining. So that's a source of removal as well. But it's kind of an emergency removal because sometimes Zephyrus can be necessary to find the additional damage.
What really stinks, though, from PNC's side, though, is that he floated 3 mana. And that's just really inefficient.
Yeah.
So, part of me really does feel like he's in a worse spot than what we might think. Most people think, okay, well, he's got his card draw, he's got his timeout, he should be okay. He's not okay. But, again, he does have that opportunity to rip the Holy Wraths.
Until Amnesiac draws Hidden Oasis, because the first Hidden Oasis is flexible.
Yep. So, I mean, even this Ferocious Howl in this position, if he's going to dominate the board, he could end up going for it. And, I mean, he doesn't even have to necessarily play any spells. He can just play, like, a single Nubistot Defender.
And you might as well start with if you're going to do that, right?
You do weaken your Feoris. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's true. At this point, I don't even know if Feoris... is going to have time to come down. But yeah, I guess why would you play it in that case? So maybe just a Nubasaw defender.
Yep,
Trade the weaker minions in.
Yep, 2 consecrations used. It's not a big deal to be in a breakpoint 3. Blood Mage Thanos used as well. So PNC does have, like you said, that Zephyr's active and might have to use defensively without Shrink Ray and Equality. 2 of them are in the bottom 10 cards of the deck. PNC has to fish them out right now.
Yep.
Does not find it. Does he have to time out again here?
That's a yikes. This turn, he didn't even have mana to Zephyr's Twisting Nether. He only had 9.
Right.
So it would have been Zephyr's Brawl,
You think you can take me?
which could leave a high-powered minion on the other side of the board. But just going to time out again, and with 8 cards remaining, that's a lot of time that PNC needs to buy.
So in this spot, Amnesiac is now safe from the Holy Wrath. When I say the Holy Wrath, it is assuming PNC lands this 1 in 7, right? No Hail Mary attempt to win the game right there and then. There is a Holy Wrath that could work, right?
Oh,
for
yeah.
29. I have also seen something like that before.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be 30 damage. Perfect. Holy Wrath draws the Holy Wrath, and that Holy Wrath draws the Shirvala.
Sure, or just Holy Wrath. Or you can draw both of them in the same turn, and one draws a 4 cost.
Yes, yeah.
It's all possible. It's just unlikely.
Dan, everything is possible.
Never tell me the odds, TJ. As most people defiantly shout into the void as they lose yet another ladder star. I mean, again, Amnesiac. I'd take his spot 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Shrink Ray coming into the hand for PNC, a big pickup, but is it a little bit too late? Like, let's say he does use this. Actually, he does have Wild Pyromancer and the Shrink Ray and the Flash of Light.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked if it's too late is there's still too many cards in the deck, right, before all of this happens. And the hardest part is that Amnesiac is still going to follow with more threats, and PNC realistically might have to use Zephyrs to clear. And if he's using Zephyrs to clear and not deal damage to Tyrion, Amnesiac might be able to just out-heal the damage.
Yeah.
That being said, we know the hands, and Amnesiac doesn't have the healing. And we've seen Druids in the past sometimes just not draw the healing in this matchup and they just die.
Yeah. He does have another Nourish, so in an emergency, he could dump some Innervades and Nourish to try and find it, but does need at least 1 Hidden Oasis and a Ferocious Howl in order to get out of range.
Move quickly.
But he's got plenty of turns to find pressure since PNC still has a ways to go. Still hasn't drawn Shirvala, though. That's an important thing to note. That can help expedite this damage.
Feoris seems appealing, but if Amnesia doesn't get a taunt, he's giving damage to PNC. And right now, the damage does matter significantly, given that Amnesiac's on armor and not on health. And armor is very valuable. You know, I kind of wonder if Amnesiac is even contemplating trying to use Swipe in this position to eliminate the 3-1, or he just wants to play Oasis Surger.
Yeah. I may opt for the Starfall. That way you put more power on board. You Oasis Surger, Starfall, and then Nubasaw. But if that's the case, you might as well just play the Oasis Surgers, because with Consecrations gone, Wild Pyromancer gone, Shrink Ray gone, then there's not much risk for the trade in. And you're putting in a Nubasaw in the way of a true summer champion.
And that's a pretty important pickup too, getting the this Floop, which allows Amnesiac to go for a multi-layered King Feoris. Still also threatening lethal indirectly because of the double swipe.
Yeah. Is still a Hidden Oasis draw away from Zephyrus being active.
Probably the worst draw. Oh, not the worst draw, but the idea is that Crystology had a chance to hit Novice Engineer, and then Novice Engineer built the draw. So that would have been 2 cards deeper and get PNC in a better spot. He would have probably picked up a quality by then.
He still has Acolyte of Pain to pick up from the Crystology, so it's not a dead card.
Is there any way PNC can get away with playing a Zephyrs into Tyrion in this spot? I don't think so. A swipe and Starfall, I think, would be lethal. No, it wouldn't be. Be very close. A Zephyrs could be lethal. Yeah, Zephyrs would 100% be lethal, because then you could double swipe Zephyr's silence and push through.
Oh, he's going for it.
He's going for it?
It looks like he hit it.
25, the 1 and 4. And Zephyrus, with the Eviscerate, should be able to close this out.
Wow, and
Get Soulfire. PNC from downtown scores the 29 points. And that is going to be a 2-0 victory for PNC, who climbs himself deeper out of the relegation spot. He is, I believe, in safe territory.
He is, yeah, with 6 wins. Race can no longer catch him. He's at the bottom of that division right now. Race is currently at 3, PNC now at 6. So with only 2 matches remaining, no way for Race to get at 6. So big win for PNC. And, you know, talking to him in the past couple of weeks and, you know, how much pressure he's felt just trying to avoid relegation, he said, like, playoffs hasn't really even been on his mind. He's already qualified for the global finals. It's just don't get relegated. So a big win for him in order to do that. And Amnesiac falls further down. Now Amnesiac's currently looking like he's not going to be in the playoff conversations moving into the later half of the week. So
has to win one more.
Yeah.
And he maybe gets there.
Yes.
Also, we want to remind people that PNC at the beginning of Season 1 had a very similar start to how he had in Season 2, where he was in danger of not even necessarily be in the playoffs. He was at the very bottom. And then at the end of the season, he made a charge through and put himself just barely at that playoff spot.
Barely.
And then was able to get through. Let's go ahead and check in with PNC, who is on the line for a brief interview. PNC, can you hear us?
Yeah, hey guys.
Now, oh, you're so calm now. What happened 30 seconds ago when you were popping off, kissing your fingers for the sweet Shirvala 25? Really well done. How hard was that match to navigate from your end? It seemed like you didn't get the board clears. And you had to be really resourceful all the way through, even though you had the card draw there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get Christology early game, and like I missed all my draw at the beginning of the game, so I knew I wasn't gonna have enough time to go to the bottom of my deck. Like if you play the matchup a lot, then at one point you realize that you're not gonna get there, so you need to do stuff like that. I considered doing that when I had like 10 cards left, or I don't know, like there were a couple turns where I had like possible lethals, but yeah, I was very surprised that he nourished the last turn. Like he didn't have the Oasis, right? When he innervated the nourish.
He did not.
Okay,
Sam
was double Starfall, double Swipe, Feoris, and like Floop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a risk that I took. I could have done that before, but yeah, it paid off. So
right, and if you had missed, then he probably would have healed, assuming he had the cards, and then would have been GG probably from that spot.
Yeah, I think I was dead on board. I'm not on board, but swipe or something like that. So
yes,
if I missed, it was over. Yeah.
Yes, precisely. Really cool stuff. Now, PNC, it seems like a trend for you at this point. The beginning of the seasons are rough. And then somehow you sneak your way like into the playoff threat range and barely get into it. Why is that? Do you feel like you're just a slow starter? Is there more things at play here?
I think I made the same mistake both seasons. I underestimated how much I need to practice and prepare for my games. And after the first couple of weeks, and when I just had a bad start, then I realized and started playing a lot more. And yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
I know it's my fault, but
fair enough.
It's not gonna happen again. I'm pretty sure now. I made the same mistake twice, so.
Yeah. We'll see. How big is it? I mean, you kind of talked about the fear of relegation. Fino took a loss, right, which means that he is in prime position to get relegated. It almost happened to you. Does that fear still, in the back of your mind going into today? Was that a big factor going into the series?
Not really. I calculated the tiebreakers, and so I think that 6 matches need to go I just need one out of 6 matches to go my way to not get relegated or something like that. So it was very unlikely, and I don't know. I'm feeling confident in my place now. So yeah,
it's good.
And now I think I'm close to playoffs now, right? I need a couple of results to go my way now. I think I need Monsanto to lose. Or something like that, but
Frozen and Monsanto both have to
lose out. But I mean, that's actually what happened last season. It was like, well, PNC
Wait,
can
no,
only
I think-
qualify if these 5 things happen, and they all happened.
I think it's only Monsanto, not Frozen. Like I think
They're both-
Frozen qualifies as third, and I go as fourth if Monsanto loses.
Oh, okay.
Like I beat Amnesiac now, so yeah.
Yeah. One of them has to go 0-2. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
That
yeah,
makes
but I
sense.
think it has to be Monsanto. I think.
Oh, because you won't get tiebreakers if
Sure.
if Frozen goes 0-2. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the tiebreakers will definitely be an interesting thing to take a look at as well. How much have you been able to talk to Race? I know that you guys have been practicing a lot with each other, even just discussing things. Do you know where his mindset's at going into his matches?
Not really. We don't really practice that much together. I think I talk about this already. It's me and Nagidan. And Nagidan is the one talking to Race, so
He's the middleman.
Sometimes we end up with the same lineup because of that, but we don't really talk that much.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna try to win my games now and see what happens with tiebreaker, and yeah, hopefully Ray survives. But he has to play me tomorrow, so I need to win. So
No hard feelings, right?
Yeah.
Does it feel good to be able to validate yourself? I know there's some people who look at some of the mistakes that were made throughout the course of seasons, and they use that to judge your caliber of play. Does that feel like extra sweet when you're able to put on good displays and start winning again in front of the eyes of all the fans?
I guess I don't really care that much what they think. I'm just trying to do my stuff and just win as much as I can.
All right, fair enough. That's what you got to do, I think. Tune out the noise because they're very loud, for sure.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get off there. Congratulations, PNC, for your victory 2-0 over Amnesiac. We'll see you back tomorrow versus Race.
Okay, thank you.